I'll share screen. Isn't it funny how we always just like have to talk out loud, on what we're doing here? All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming today. Whoops, I'll go backwards. I think my lesson today is going to be a little bit shorter than usual, and that's okay. My lesson today is on how to answer a DQ. Now, I don't know where each of you are in your, doctoral journey, but I think that if you're past the DQ stage, what I'm teaching today can also be helpful just as far as writing a paragraph in general. So we can kind of look at it that way. So, but if we start off with looking at it from how to answer a DQ, it's really important to answer all of the components of the question, to add in some kind of in-text citation and reference, and then that 150 to 200 word kind of word limit is what we're kind of searching for, which is actually good practice for just paragraph writing in general. When we think about a DQ, it really is just a paragraph. And when we do paragraphs, the first thing that we need to keep in mind is what would be our topic sentence. And that's because the topic sentence, in my opinion, really is the heart of the paragraph. It's that first sentence, which is kind of like a little mini thesis, and that's because it establishes the main point of the paragraph. I'm kind of one of those like professors or chairs that kind of feels like, and even as a writing instructor, that the topic sentence shouldn't really be too long, or it could start to confuse the reader. So we want it to be kind of short, concise, to the point. And my writing tip for writing a topic sentence is that if I were to just read the topic sentence of every paragraph, I should really have a pretty decent understanding of what the overarching topic is of whatever you wrote. So like if we're looking at like a standard 5 paragraph essay, for example, if I were to just read the topic sentence of each of those, by the time I got to that 5th paragraph, just by reading the topic sentence, I should have the gist of what you wrote about. The same thing applies for just a 1 paragraph. That topic sentence should just give me an idea of what I should expect to read in the rest of the paragraph. So after you've done a topic sentence, that's where we want those supporting sentences. And it varies on how many you need. For a DQ, you're probably going to need, 2, 3, maybe 4 sentences to do the question justice. But if we were kind of thinking about just a paragraph in general, just as according to APA, a paragraph needs a minimum of 3 sentences. So that's kind of like a good rule of thumb there. The part that we want to keep in mind about supporting sentences is that their sole purpose is just to expand on that topic sentence. So that topic sentence was to help orient the reader, and our supporting sentences just need to support that. And that's where you kind of parse out the discussion points that you're going to do to address that topic sentence. Now, as doctoral learners, it's really important that we also support it with evidence. And that for us would come in the form of those credible sources. As much as possible, we want these to be current, meaning that they've been published in the last 5 years, and we want them to be empirical. And then, of course, we need to put them into proper APA 7, like parenthetical in-text citation or that narrative citation. And this is because whatever you're saying in that paragraph, in that DQ, is important, but we have to back it up with the literature. When I do say current, and with the current empirical, we can also integrate some of the seminal sources. So if you're doing something that's a little more theoretical, a lot of the theories are a bit older, and maybe, they could be decades older. So it's okay in many instances to also have a seminal source to help support what you're writing. My writing tip for the giving evidence is that you should try to paraphrase. So, offer your original idea by paraphrasing what you've written or read, and then reference those primary sources with the parenthetical. And then you'll need a concluding sentence. So what I'd like to do is show you a couple of examples, and I've asked some of my current students if I could use theirs as my exemplar. So this is just a recent DQ prompt that we had in one of the classes that I'm teaching. I'm teaching a class right now on transformative learning. And so this is the prompt that shows up in Halo. It says, transformative learning experiences, by their nature, change the adult learner's worldview by creating a new perspective in the learner's mind. So what we see right here is that's just kind of like an intro. There's not even a question just yet. But what I've done is I've started to use color coding. So I put in blue the first question. What are the best strategies that a teacher can employ to help adult learners deal with the new perspectives? And then when I look at this DQ prompt, I see, well, there actually is now a second question. So I put that one in green. How can these strategies be implemented? And then in red, support your view. And that's where we start bringing in that literature, the evidence with the citations. So on this slide, I have just repeated that DQ prompt up at the top, and I want to just break it down. So right here was a response from one of my learners. Learner wrote, because transformative learning experiences shape the learner's worldview by exposing the learner to new perspectives, it is of interest to address how instructors can assist learners in processing these new experiences. Students may feel uncomfortable with the new perspectives, worldviews, and belief systems, and may even try to actively avoid experiences that expose them to these. Now you'll notice that I did this in the black font. So what we see here is that this learner took that first part of the DQ prompt and has kind of turned it into that topic sentence. As the reader, I'm really starting to orient myself. I can see that they've taken some of the wording from the DQ prompt and they've worked that into their topic sentence. And they've also even begun to put in some evidence with that parenthetical. So let's look at the next part. So at that prompt, we're in that blue part about the best strategies. And so if we look at the next part of the DQ that was answered, the response, the learner wrote, because student learning and student comfort may be inversely related to each other, particularly early in the process, effective mentoring is recommended by Chiwakowska 2020 as a way to ease the transition from prior experiences and pre-existing comfort zones to new experiences and challenges. So right now, when I look at that, I can easily see that this learner has picked out a best strategy. I went ahead and underlined it. My learner did not underline it, but I underlined it. And we can easily see that this learner is saying, well, mentoring is an effective strategy. And we can start to see that they've chosen a source that is current, at least at the time of this doing this video. It's 2024, and this one was published in 2020. So we're kind of in that 5-year range. So we're good to go. And now this learner has gotten into that third part, that green one, about the strategies on how they would be implemented. So the learner wrote, the instructor should emphasize the importance of how discomfort can lead to learning and remind the learner of the autonomy and agency that the learner possesses. So we see that they've addressed this. They're starting to show how the strategy would be implemented. And that would be more about emphasizing the discomfort. But interestingly enough, you can see that word like uncomfortable up in the black font. So everything's sort of tying together. These supporting sentences are definitely supporting the topic sentence at the top. And if we continue on, interestingly enough, this learner circled back around to another best strategy. So they wrote, self-reflection is also a recommended practice, but learners must choose to do this independently. And they continue on with learners who choose to avoid transformative learning experiences ultimately shortchange themselves. So, and now we get back into how strategies can be implemented. So instructors may benefit from reminding learners of this and the support resources available to the learner. So for me as an instructor, I can see that this is a really thoroughly written DQ response to that DQ prompt. They've answered everything and then also supported it with a source. So I'll just take a moment to talk about the source. And one of the things that I do as a professor, and it takes a lot of work, is I actually check every single source that they write at the bottom of their Halo. I double check to make sure that it really is current, that it is an empirical study. And then I want to make sure that they've got their APA formatting down. And when I looked at this source, I can see that, of course, again, at the time that we're doing this video, it was published within the last 5 years. When I scrolled through the article, it's definitely a research study. And some of the things that I noticed about this article and why it was so good and such a great source for that response was that in their literature review in this article, they talked about transformative learning. In the data collection, it used a comfort and uncomfortable scale. And if you recall, the learner had embedded that into the topic sentences and then into the supporting sentences. And interestingly enough, the findings, which are so important in our empirical sources, mentions mentoring and reflection. So this was a fantastic article to use as the support for that response. I'm going to do one more. So this was a sample prompt as well that we had. This one said, teachers need to guide adult learners through the transformative learning process, especially when adult learners are new to the transformative learning process. So now we're kind of getting into how could we take that first sentence and maybe turn it into a topic sentence? Next part says, what are the 2 best strategies or means teachers can employ to help adult learners explore their options during the transformative learning process? Support your position. And interestingly, that's asking for 2 best strategies. And then the next one is another question that's also embedded into this prompt. What observable behaviors will the student exhibit to inform the instructor that he or she has been successful in guiding learners through the transformational learning experience? So here's that prompt again at the top. Now, this response is a little different. One of the things that I try to encourage my learners to do is to take their dissertation topic and bend it to fit as many things as they can. So all of you, if you're, whatever stage you're in with your doctoral journey, you've got your topic, or at least your idea of what you think you're going to be doing. I'm all about trying to double dip your research because you're spending so much time looking for those awesome articles. You're trying to write up annotated bibliographies that you might be able to use for chapter 2, or maybe you're in the throes of writing chapter 2. So what this learner does, and this learner does this very consistently, is take their dissertation topic and they work it into their DQ responses all of the time. And I think this is a fabulous idea. What I thought was really interesting is that this learner starts off actually answering the question, turning that blue one into the topic sentence. The 2 most effective strategies teachers can use to assist adult learners during transformative learning are discourse and critical reflection. What I absolutely love about this topic sentence is it is so incredibly clear. I know that the only thing I really should be reading after this are things about critical discourse and critical reflection. So then this learner then puts in, pre-service teachers experience a wide range of experiences during clinical practice that can hinder or enable transformative learning. Now, you all might be sitting here going, well, why are they writing about pre-service teachers? And this is where this learner is always working in the dissertation topic. So this learner has learned how to bend the topic, the prompt to fit. So this learner is doing a study that does involve pre-service teachers. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they start to weave this in. So now we're into the blue part about the best strategies. So the learner continues. Engaging in critical discourse benefits pre-service teachers because it helps them articulate, defend, and reshape their thoughts. Then they continue on. Instructors can facilitate pre-service teachers' progress by posing questions to guide them forward. And you're starting to see in the red that we've got that supporting evidence. Teachers play a crucial role in guiding critical reflection by offering prompts for discovery instead of answering every question. A key proposition of transformative learning is assessing the beliefs of others to arrive at a tentative best judgment. Pre-service teachers evaluate the teacher's claims of sincerity, authenticity, and appropriateness more than assessing if the claims are true. When the instructor is perceived in this way, pre-service teachers show a greater inclination towards engaging in reflective practices. Pre-service teachers critically reflect on ideas seeking common ground, and then critically self-reflect in the safe learning environment. And then we get into the observable. Observable behaviors are that the pre-service teachers will engage in critical discourse and be open to different viewpoints during their coursework and clinical practice. So, and then this learner, there were so many references, I just put them on my own, on a separate slide. What we see here is this learner used two empirical sources, the Lindquist and then the Tucker, but then also worked in Mesereau. And that one's an older one, and that's okay, because if any of us have studied anything with transformative learning, we know that Mesereau is like, you know, the guy on that. So I love that this learner is always working in the dissertation topic. These might have already been sources that she had, or they might be new sources, but my guess is that this learner is able to double dip those kind of sources in other areas as well. And when I looked at the two sources, I didn't go to the Mesereau one. I'm very familiar with Mesereau, but with the other two, I wanted to see, you know, are they current? Yes, they're published in the last 5 years. They were both empirical. In the data collection and analysis sections, they had things that had to do with reflective papers. They were gathering the data using reflection. And that was definitely embedded in that response, as you could see. And then the results of both of these articles covered things like transformative learning, reflection, discourse. So everything worked together with these sources. So one of the things that we will do now, and I should probably say that this was going to be a short lesson today. Do you have any questions that I can answer? I prefer to try to just answer more as far as like maybe DQs or paragraph writing, as you know, as opposed to just the greater dissertation process. So if you would like to, and you feel brave enough to ask a question, please feel free to unmute, and I will try my best to answer.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Carol. I came in the middle
That's
of
okay.
what you were doing.
Welcome.
But while you were going through the DQs, you answered a lot of the particulars that I'm going through. I'm starting at the very beginning. This is my first introductory class, and we're talking about the source, the topic sentence, how do you entwine all of that. And I had a big issue with all of that. But like I said, you narrowed it down, you talked about it. You said to ask the questions to get the questions that you need to get the information that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take that away from this and put it to use
Well, Carol,
because
thank you for telling me that.
yeah, because we wrote a paper and it went in last night. So I'm waiting for the feedback to come back. So I'm going to be taking some of what you were talking about to put in the paper, because at the very end we have to go back and redo and redo
Right,
and
right. And
redo.
you know, the redoing that's hard. 'Cause like sometimes, I don't know, it kind of feels like it hurts your feelings because you put so much,
Yes,
yeah, you put so
yes.
much work into it. But I will tell you this, the iterative process of the working on doctoral, you know, the dissertation, it's a lot of feedback on just what needs to be fixed. And most of us will tell you over and over, it's not meant as a personal attack. It's meant to make you better. That's what what Dr. Schmidt always said. It's just to make you better. Um, one of the things that I would tell you all to focus on, especially when you're looking for those empirical sources, once you've determined that it's empirical, because it's got all the things on that checklist, it's got like a lit review and it's got a methodology, data collection, data analysis, start looking down into the findings or the results. What were the results that came about? Because both those prompts and responses that I showed you, when I looked and reviewed the articles that those learners used, the findings and results were on that topic. So these learners have both done a really good job of scouring those results and using the results and findings from that study, whatever that article, was studying and going over. And then they work that into their DQ responses. And that's important to carry over, especially in chapter 2 when you get to that point.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad this was helpful, especially since you're in your first class. Perfect
Yes.
timing.
Yes. Yes.
There anybody else that maybe has a question? It's a nice small group, so you can just be brave and ask.
Hello.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi. It's my first time here and I'm going to certain sessions seeing just getting different questions answered. So I'm not sure if I'm in the right place.
Mhm.
But what I was looking at is in my dissertation writing, my tables are not populating into the table of contents. And it does not matter what I do or what Google or what YouTube video I watch, it is not happening for me. So I just
Okay.
wondering if there's any tips and tricks for that.
I will say that part's a little bit out of my scope of like expertise. And I say this because when I was ready to submit my dissertation for Form and Format, I could not ever get that to work. And I'm pretty darn good at APA formatting, but when I got to Form and Format for those tables and stuff, I couldn't. I actually did have to hire someone who could fix that for me. Now, I do know that our Dr. Marquette does have his YouTube channel and has a couple of videos on that. Have you found his YouTube channel, Nicole?
No, I didn't know you had a channel.
Oh, yeah. He's got some awesome videos that can help work through that. I'll pull that up and I'll put it in the chat. So hang on. So Dr. Marquette, here's that. And let me stick that into our chat. There you go. So what I would suggest, Nicole, go there and start looking at the ones that he has on Form and Format. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his wife, the other Dr. Marquette, and one of the other professors worked on that video together, and they literally walk you through how to get your dissertation ready to send it, because you can get hung up in Form and Format if it gets rejected and sent back to you to get all those things fixed. And especially if you're at the Form and Format section, you're so close to having that dean signature, you want to like get over that hurdle. So see if those videos don't help you. You're welcome. Annette, you'll have to unmute.
Dr. Burgess just discussed that last night. I'm sorry, guys, I have a cold. But Dr. Burgess just discussed that in Form and Formatting last night. And she said that we were going to meet again. It was supposed to be July 24th, but she's going to reschedule the next Form and Format until, I believe she said July 31st.
And so, Annette, is this something that'll be available on the DC network?
I don't know if she posted video from last night.
Okay.
And I wish I remembered the steps, but that's exactly what she talked about, the tables, because a lot of people were saying that their tables were out of line.
Sure.
So it's exactly what you were asking about, Nicole. So between Dr. Marquette's video and Dr. Burgess, those are two great resources that you can use.
The DC network does have, if you go to the DC network over on the right-hand side, they have all sorts of different like Zooms that you can just log into on specific days and times. And so that's also an option. And it looks like Lizette put something in the chat. Ooh, there it
Yeah,
is.
that's Dr. Berger's once a month. The next one is August 14th. You might want to join. But she's also willing to, if you email her, she will try to walk you through email.
Awesome.
So you might want to just say, hey, because August 14th is quite a bit away, and if you need that, you know what I'm saying, Ms.
Need
Nicole?
it sooner.
So
Mhm.
if you need it, you might want to look there. If you already tried YouTube and stuff, and you can
Right.
try Dr. Marquette's videos. But she's very good and very willing, so you might want to try that, Ms. Nicole.
And now that you're talking, Lizette, I think it actually might have been Dr. Burgess and the other Dr. Marquette that did the video on our Dr. Marquette's website on his YouTube. I was trying to remember who it was. I love that, see, we can all contribute to each other's journey, Isn't that awesome? Thank you. Any other questions that we can try to answer for you? Okay, well, I like to be respectful of everybody's time. It's about 4:30, so it's just a quick and brief one. We will meet again next month. Let's see what the date will be. August 8th. I don't know what my topic will be yet. So a lot of times my topics they come about just from the classes that I'm teaching and things that I'm noticing with my learners and how they're doing and how it might help others as they progress in their journeys. So, well, if there aren't any other questions, I will go ahead and